What is up, you guys? So, if you guys have seen my YouTube shorts in the last month or so, you guys saw that I, not even like a short review, but I gave an update that I finished reading Jeanette McCurdy's "I'm Glad My Mom Died." Now, just as a quick recap, Jeanette McCurdy, and we're gonna actually watch a video about her real quick by It's Blanco, one of my favorite YouTubers. He's another one of my favorite commentary channels. But basically, Jeanette McCurdy was I don't know if she's still acting. She says she's retiring from it, but she was a child actress from back in the early 2000s, like 2007, which she got a really big role in iCarly, which was arguably one of the most popular kids shows at the time. It ran for like 4 or 5 seasons up until 2012. But the thing is, she did not want to become an actress. Her mother wanted to become an actress. Therefore, we're talking more about. We're only gonna watch like 5 minutes of the video, and I'll give you my insight of it. But basically, her mother wanted to get her into acting because she wanted to become an actress herself, but for some reason her parents just never let her. I never found out the exact reason why. Maybe because they just didn't want her to be exposed to that kind of spotlight, I guess. But she wanted to live vicariously through her. But we'll get into it. So this is by It's Blanco, and let's go.
Jeanette McCurdy is a face recognized by millions of kids worldwide that grew up watching her as Sam Puckett in iCarly. But after the end of the show, and after the failure of its spin-off Sam and Cat, Jeanette went down a path of alcoholism, eating disorders, and messy public appearances that deemed her a child star gone crazy. How could this happen? Well, the harsh truth is that Jeanette never wanted the fame. She never wanted to be an actress, she never wanted to be a TV, she never wanted to be on camera. She later opened up about this in her memoir, I'm Glad My Mom Died, a book title that may shock or even offend a lot of people. The idea that someone would be so happy over the death of their own mom would make you be a little skeptical, but after reading the book and looking at her story, you'd be glad she died too. So, let's look at the story of Jeanette McCurdy. A lot of people would be surprised that Jeanette actually came from terrible circumstances. She lived in a house with her 3 brothers, her mom Deborah, her dad Mark, and her grandparents on her mom's side. They were often very short on paying the bills and constantly needed extensions. The only reason they still even had the house in the first place was because Mark's parents were the previous owners and they gave him a good deal. All of the adults had jobs except for Deborah. Her grandpa worked as a ticket taker in Disneyland, her grandma was a receptionist at a retirement home, and her dad made cardboard cutouts for Hollywood Video and also worked in the kitchen department at Home Depot. However, her mom was the only one that was not employed at all. She occasionally would pick up some shifts at Targets during the holidays, but never really had a job. Jeanette was extremely close to her mom. Being homeschooled her whole life and didn't really have any girls her age to talk to, she naturally bonded with her mom a lot more. At only 2 years old, Deborah was diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer, which was a heavy burden on the family. Not just because of her treatment, which racked up the medical bills, or the emotional stress it put on the family, but because of the extreme lifestyle changes that she implemented on the family after her diagnosis. She was cancer-free a couple years later, but still changed for the worse. Deborah became an excessive hoarder, and I mean an excessive hoarder. The house was flooded with random junk like toys, expired makeup, used wrappers, a bunch of junk. The stuff overflowed the garage to the point where it was not usable. Jeanette and her brothers couldn't even access their own bedroom because it was so heavily cluttered. So they ended up having to sleep in the living room on gymnastics mats that they bought from Costco. Not to mention, the hoarding attracted a giant rat and possum issue. Jeanette was ashamed of her house her entire life. The family was raised Mormon and they were members of the Church of Jesus of Latter-day Saints. Kids usually hate attending religious obligations, but Jeanette would always look forward to the 3-hour Sunday service because, quite frankly, it was the only thing that got them out of the flooded house. And it was after Deborah's diagnosis that they started attending more and more frequently. At home, Jeanette's mom was ecstatic. It's suspected that she had bipolar disorder, narcissistic personality disorder, borderline personality disorder, or a weird combination of all 3. She never got treatment for her issues or went to therapy despite her family constantly encouraging her to go get help. She often got angry with Jeanette's dad for no reason. If Mark came home a little bit later than usual, Deborah would automatically assume that he was cheating and threaten him with a knife to leave the house. This happened pretty often, and he put up with it. Deborah always wanted to be an actress, but never pursued it and always put the blame on her parents for never supporting her. She believed that she deserved the fame and fortune, the celebrity lifestyle. Living in a crappy home and in an unfulfilled marriage, she constantly dreamed of what could have been. So, when Jeanette turned 6, she decided to turn her into an actress and give her the life that she never had. But Jeanette had no interest in acting. She never hinted at it or even thought about doing it. She was shy and uncomfortable in person, but Jeanette would do anything to make her mom happy. Anything. Her mom was her best friend in the whole world and meant everything to her. Jeanette's birthday wish each year was for her mom to live long enough to see the next one. Jeanette was always careful never to say the wrong thing around her mom because she was always scared about how she would react. When Deborah didn't get her way, she would throw tantrums and become rowdy like a child, ironically. So when Jeanette's mom asked her if she wanted to be mommy's little actress, there was only one right answer. Child actors are a gold mine in the industry. If a child can perform well on camera, they can make very good money for their work. Deborah didn't just see her as a vessel for her dream, but also as a big paycheck. It was then that Deborah dedicated to being Jeanette's full-time manager. Now, they lived in Garden Grove, California, which was only an hour-and-a-half drive from Hollywood. Deborah started taking her to agencies to get her an agent, and from the get-go, the agents could clearly tell that Jeanette's heart was not in acting. But Deborah wanted this more than anything, so Jeanette wanted this more than anything. She eventually got signed to do background work. Her first gig was on The X-Files, a very popular TV show. Her first role was uncredited and the exact episode she's in was unknown, but it's a good start. Jeanette then started to get more and more background roles regularly.
Alright, so sorry to cut it off there, but if you guys want to check out the full video, it's The Tragic Life of Jeanette McCurdy. But so kind of my thoughts about it, and I guess like this is where the book review comes in. But basically, it was just sad to hear, because keep in mind, I grew up with iCarly. Okay, I'm 24 years old. This show came out in like I said, 2007. So when it came out, I was like 7, 8 years old when it came out, and that show was revolutionary at the time. Because keep in mind, YouTube started back in what, 2006, 2007. So the creator, as you know, Dan Schneider, or as I like to say, Dan the Feet Sniffing Schneider. What happened was he, I guess, capitalized on this moment of because in some sense, iCarly was in a sense about a show about using YouTube to propel their fame or catapult their fame by using the internet, making these funny skit videos and these random activities on the web show, which worked. I mean, this show was very revolutionary at the time, and and Jeanette McCurdy was the perfect role. But the thing is also, keep in mind though, a lot of the controversies, if you guys have seen Quiet on Set, which has a lot of like the dark themes behind what happened in those shows, and it really didn't help her situation. I mean, keep in mind there was actually a section in the book where I'm trying to keep this as PG-13 as possible, but basically she had to do a photo shoot in a bikini, and what had happened was one of the photographers, who was, I think she was here, I forgot if it was a man or a woman, but basically this photographer was trying to take pictures for Dan Schneider, and in that scene where there was a scene where he says, he likes options. I'm like, that's very weird and very unusual. That's not something that you would want to say to a child actress. Let's see, this show came out in 2007, so she would have been 14, 15 years old at the time. I mean, barely turning 16. So it's like, and then on top of that, her eating disorders, which he mentions too, but then her eating disorder went from anorexia to bulimic, and she actually lost a tooth in the process. And her mother is, in multiple interviews, she claims that she doesn't hate her mother, which I guess is a good thing. But at the same time, like I said, read the book for yourself. And I know this book got a lot of controversy, but if you really take a deep dive into the book, it's a 300-page book. I mean, you can get it done in, like, if you dedicate a couple hours out of your day, you can get it done within a week for sure. Depends on how fast you are as a reader, obviously, but give it 2 weeks. But it was a really good read. So kind of I know I'm going back and forth, but basically, when you look back on the show, though, Jeanette McCurdy's character, Sam Puckett, was this tomboyish, rugged, rude, lazy character who loved a lot of food, especially anything with meat. We're talking about, like, steak, ribs, hot dogs, pork chops, everything, So, but this was the complete opposite of her, and because she was going through her eating disorder, it just it made a lot of things worse. From what I can tell when I read the book and everything. So it was just not a good combination. And plus, when the show ended, and the next thing you know, a lot of things happened with her mom. Her mom passed away and everything. So it's really not a it's an eye-opening story for what you see. Then oftentimes, of course, when I was a kid, I did fantasize about what it was like to be famous, like a child actor, like from Disney or Nickelodeon. I did. I will admit it. I can't be the only one who fantasized about it. But at the same time, looking back and after hearing these stories of certain celebrities, even just any kind of celebrity, I'm kind of glad I never grew up in that now as an adult. Because can you imagine just going to like your favorite restaurant or just a grocery store, and then all of a sudden, I'm pretty sure they don't mind it at first. They like being, maybe some of them don't mind the recognition. But at some point you're like, hey man, I'm just trying to get some food. I'm just trying to enjoy time with my family. That's just me. But I don't know. Like, it just seems kind of weird. And looking back as an adult, you just don't want to be in that kind of spotlight anymore, at least for the most degree. So, but I don't know. Tell me what you guys think. If you read the book, leave it in the comments below, and subscribe to my channel. But so I know this was a much. I'm just trying to make whatever videos I can too. But it was an interesting read. So yeah.